Hello, everyone. I'm Selena Hill, the digital editor at Black Enterprise. And today I have the privilege to speak with Craig Lewis, the founder and CEO of GigWage, a fintech payroll platform provider for the gig economy that recently raised a $7.5 million Series A. Now, Craig, you're a former pro basketball player who founded GigWage in 2014. Tell us more about GigWage and why you launched it.
No, well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. We launched GigWage for a simple reason. We wanted to help businesses pay gig workers and freelancers and independent contractors in a modern way. And we thought it was really important to tackle the problems that the businesses were having getting people this money. And we had a unique insight. We wanted to do it with technology and venture capital. And to your point, we've raised over $12 million to date to do that.
So, Craig, less than 1% of Black founders receive venture capital, making it disproportionately harder for Black entrepreneurs to start, build, and scale their businesses. How were you able to raise nearly $12 million in capital?
Yeah, well, when I started the business, I knew from day one that I wanted to raise venture capital. It was a decision that I made. And the reason I made the decision was I saw really quickly that the greatest wealth creation happening in America today was technology, and it was backed by venture capital. If you look at the top 5 companies, in the market today, in the world, they're all venture backed and they're all technology. So I knew I wanted to raise money. I set my mind to that, right? And kind of figured it out. And then I just applied the courage and audacity to go out and do it. So to your point, we've raised over $12 million. In our latest round, Green Dot led the round. It was a $7.5 million round. It was actually oversubscribed. There's probably a little bit more news on that, but I can't tell it just quite yet. But we were super excited about it. And I started off like most entrepreneurs, and I raised from high net worth individuals, family offices. And then as we got more sophisticated and more traction in our company, we began to bring in institutional capital. And so that led us to the Series A. And we're super excited about having that fuel in the tank to really power our goals and a lot of the things we want to get accomplished.
Can you talk about the partnership that you have with Green Dot, which was leading the round of your Series A?
Yeah, Green Dot's been phenomenal. So back in April, they hired a new CEO, a guy by the name of Dan Henry, who is one of the most well-known fintech CEOs, especially in the public markets. And I actually reached out, talk about that audacity. I reached out to him cold, just a cold LinkedIn message, if you will, got his attention, and we started talking. And then all of a sudden this deal came together and they led our Series A. What this really consists of is them investing millions of dollars into our company, and then a true partnership, not a customer vendor relationship, but we're actually partnering to come out with a GigWage debit card for gig workers. So in the gig economy, you've got, in some industries, 40% of the workers are underbanked or non-banked. So they don't have access to just basic banking services. And so we're putting together a program with Green Dot to solve a lot of that so that we can provide that speed and flexibility of payment that they need. So as a publicly traded company with a big balance sheet, it's a great partnership for us for sure.
I'm so happy that you talked about the underbanked and you gave that statistic. So not only that, but approximately 16% of adults were underbanked in 2018, according to the Federal Reserve, while Black people accounted for 35% of underbanked adults compared to 11% of white people. On top of that, Black households make up the highest proportion of the 7.1 million households who have no bank account at all. So I kind of want to just take some time to talk about what it means to be underbanked and why is it that Black Americans are more susceptible to being underbanked?
Yeah, well, this is something where we really had a lot of overlap and synergy with Green Dot. So they've been doing this, for over 20 years now, and a lot of their end users, customers, are Black and brown consumers. And so in the gig economy, you see a lot of that too. Basically, the reason we're seeing this is because this is the United States of America, and racism and segregation and bias is built into the fabric of who we are, no matter what you're looking at. So you'll see bank deserts in a lot of our communities. Redlining played a big part in it. There's a myriad of reasons. I think we really all know the reasons that we have bank deserts, food deserts, all these different types of things. But what we're excited about is trying to help solve a lot of those problems. And Gig Wage is not a company built for Black people, although it's built by Black people. We're here to help everybody. But we are extremely excited by the fact that we will be empowering the Black and brown communities because we know they're a big part of our customer base. And so bringing these tools that can create a financial social safety net around Black and brown consumers is something we're really proud of.
I read that you had a really interesting conversation with the CEO of Green Dot after George Floyd died around Black Lives Matter. And it really helped you to connect not only on a business level, but on a human level. Can you talk about what happened in that conversation and how it led to this partnership?
Yeah, it was a really dope moment. The partnership was already kind of in play. We were really, hammering out the deal, if you will. It was actually like a Saturday morning. I was here at the office, and I'm up pretty high downtown Dallas, and we were on a Zoom call talking about the deal. And down on the floor level, you could hear chants, and the protests were going on, and you could hear these chants about Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. And so it was this really interesting dynamic for me because here I am on the call with the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company negotiating a multi-million-dollar deal on the 34th floor in one ear. In the other ear, I'm relating to the pain and the agony and just the need to be respected by the protesters. They were actually right in front of City Hall. And I asked him, could he hear the chants? Because it was pretty loud, like you could hear it up on the 34th floor, and he could. And so we took that moment and just had a real conversation. No need to get into the details of what we discussed, but we were able to break away from the transaction and just talk man to man. And Dan was really open to having that conversation, and I listened to him, and there was a lot of empathy exchanges. So it was a good moment for us. And I think, I always say a business relationship doesn't happen until a transaction happens, but it's still people involved, right? And so we were able to really connect, and I think that'll go a long way in our relationship and our partnership.
So, Craig, I actually want to talk more about what it means to be not only a tech founder, but a Black tech founder, especially in 2020, when we see this resurgence of Black Lives Matter that has taken over the world and caused many of us to dig down deep inside and to connect on a human level with one another and really empathize with the Black struggle. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Look, for me, I operate on 10, right? I'm full of energy. I'm 24/7, the hammer and the nails start to stop. And I remember when the George Floyd murder happened, I remember saying, wow, it's a lot harder for me to get to 10 every day when I wake up. It was just so draining. It required so much energy. I did it, but it just took a lot more out of me. And, one of the things I've tried to do over life, just, being Black in America, is I know those challenges exist. I know there's more that are coming, but I also know that I'm striving for something a bit bigger than challenges, right? I'm shooting to leave a legacy. And so as a Black man in America, I choose to focus less on the challenges and more on the opportunities, right? I'm a Black man every day, whether I'm hooping, right? Whether I'm a sales rep, whether I'm an entrepreneur, a technology entrepreneur, I'm still my mom's son. I'm still my wife's husband and my daughter's dad, right? And so I stay locked in because I know what I'm fighting for. And like I said, these challenges exist. I've been doing a lot of press, Selena, and everybody asks me about the challenges. So I should really have a better story for you. But I like to focus on the opportunities, and it's hard regardless, building something special. And I'm just locked in.
Speaking of finding opportunities and challenge, your company, Gig Wage, was actually founded, again, 2014. I read that, after the economic depression that we had in 2008, for a lot of us, it was a very challenging time. But this is the time where the gig economy actually was innovative. And then, boom, this is when we got Uber, Airbnb, et cetera. How did you find this opportunity to create a solution for a problem in the gig economy?
Yeah, I was looking for it. I just wanted to do something great, right? And so I had built my career in the payroll and payment technology space. And so I was saying, where can we apply different levels of innovation? And I read an article from McKinsey about the global independent workforce, AKA the gig economy. And I realized nobody had the same perspective that I had, the unique perspective that this could be solved through payroll. And so it was that article that really led me to say, hey, let's help companies better manage, better pay workers in a modern way, especially these gig type workers. Because if you look over the last 100 years, everything's been built for W-2 employees, traditional employees. We wanted to build financial infrastructure for this kind of new way of working. And the pandemic has just accelerated it, right? Essential workers, gig workers. And so gig wage is right on time, but we've been working on it for years.
So what's next for gig wage?
Yeah, we're going to help more businesses pay more people. We're going to raise more money. We're really excited about the partnership with Green Dot and rolling out this debit card and bank account to go along with the services and technology that we provide today. But we're really just excited about expanding over the next kind of 12, 18, 24 months, really helping as much of the US as possible. And then after that, global and international cross-border payments.
So, Craig, I'm really fascinated by how so many innovators and problem solvers just really emerged after the 2008 economic downturn. And I feel like now in 2020, where we've seen massive job loss, skyrocketing unemployment, even though we're in a crisis, there may be some opportunity. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs who were just like you, who are seeking to solve problems at this time of crisis?
Yeah, I'm going to give you something really tactical. So if you think about it, there's quote unquote winners and losers of the pandemic and just 2020 in general. It's just been an incredibly interesting year, right? But there are winners and there are people that are growing and thriving in the gig economy. And they're thriving in the pandemic. They're thriving in the midst of COVID. You're seeing a lot of innovation happen. What I suggest to small business owners and entrepreneurs is whatever the service is that you provide, whatever products you provide, start to provide them for the people that are thriving in this time, right? And so let's say you're a photographer. What are the growing industries that you can go do more photography, right? Let's say that you're, a web designer. What companies are thriving and growing and need more web design? And so what I've just, I mentor a lot of small business owners and I'm always telling them, look for the growth areas. And there are a lot of them and they're very, very obvious on the other side of 2020. So look for those areas and try to tackle them.
And, speaking of that, another thing that I'm really noticing is the fact that there's so many software devices, programs, apps that are basically like doing the things that we used to rely on people to do, especially in 2020. Like, obviously everything's on social media, everyone's taking pictures. No longer do you really need a professional editor when you can edit your own pictures, right? So that's just one example. How would you say this is going to play out? Because, you mentioned photographers, that's what really triggered me to even think about this. But do you think that the other side of 2020, will we see more people actually losing jobs or being more innovative so that they can stay basically on top of what the future of work will look like?
Yeah, I think the future of work is a great point you make there. I don't know that we'll have a net loss of jobs, but I do think we'll continue to see an increase of what I call micro entrepreneurs, right? And so it's the people that maybe they still have a job and they have a side hustle. And this is really a lot of what we do in the gig economy and helping freelancers, self-employed individuals, gig workers. But ultimately, it's really easy to provide a service. I like to talk about you can push a button and do work for someone. You can push a button and get work from someone. And so this technology and innovation that makes things easy is only going to provide more economic and entrepreneurial opportunity. So I think people shouldn't be worried about robots taking over and taking our jobs. They should be looking, again, for the areas of opportunity to leverage the technology that's in the palm of your hand.
Absolutely. Okay. And last thing, Craig, just tell us one more time how we can find out more about you, your company, and what's next.
Yeah, I'm Craig J. Lewis, pretty much everywhere but Twitter, at Craig Jamal Lewis on Twitter. But if you want to reach out to us, it's gigwage.com and at gigwage on all our social platforms, and that's GIGWAGE. So gigwage.com, we'd love to talk to anybody looking to pay contractors, freelancers, and gig workers.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.